Hello, test, test. Is there a delay? Test, test. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Star Wars Culture. I'm Hannah, and today with us, we don't have Jordan. He is homesick with just a common cold. He's all good, but he's resting his voice and getting that energy back up. But so today, we have our producer, Claire, joining us, which I'm so excited for. How you going, Claire? How you doing?
Hello there. My name is Clarice Quinn Taylor. This is the Kenobi cast. With the recent news of the cast for the upcoming Kenobi series, we will be talking about the amazing actors that have been set and cast in the show. We will also be diving into some Bad Batch talk, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We are.
And then we're going to be talking about some of the theories and storylines we hope to see in the show. Take it away, Hannah.
Yeah, so because we just got that official trailer drop yesterday, which I did not see coming. Were you prepared for that at all, Claire? I was not ready.
I was on my way out of the house to go and do something and run some errands, and I just got a text from Nikk and Jordan and Hannah and Ben all at the same time, and I'm just like, what is, and like my phone just blows up with like 16 messages from like a bunch of different people, and they're just like, the Bad Batch trailer dropped. I'm like, what is happening? Didn't watch it until much later because I was busy and I was on my way out. But yeah,
it's a good time. I'm so excited to get stuck into it too. Like, so much happened. So we'll get into that super soon. But before we get any further, Nikk, we have our producer Nikk with us today. Nikk, how are you today?
I am doing splendid. Splendid.
That's it. Yeah. In Mustafar, how is Mustafar at the moment?
I'm not even going to say it's really hot. I'm not enjoying any of it.
So good. And fair. That is fair. So thank you so much for checking us out on Star Wars Culture. And if you want to get to know any of us here more at Star Wars Culture, you can find us on social media. Mine is at Hannah the Raeside, and you can find Nikk at TK7272.
And then you can also find me at Clarice Q Taylor on Instagram, Twitter, and all of the other places if you want to follow me.
Amazing. So
please
good.
Do.
And if you want more great pop culture content, articles, news, little bites of goodness, be sure to check out Culture Slate on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Culture Slate. And if you're loving the show, be sure to check out our Patreon. We have some juicy goss over there, all about our pre-show stuff and what's happening behind the scenes and what goes on into a show. And that's all exclusive to Patreon. So be sure to check that out. The link is in the description below. But Claire, let's get into it today, shall we? I'm
sure. I'm so ready.
Yeah,
I'm so ready.
To talk about. But hello there, Kenobi cast. Wow.
Hello there.
That was a fantastic drop. Of course, this week we got our the lineup, the fantastic cast lineup for the Kenobi series. Of course, we've got Ewan in there. Amazing to see him. And he's like at the perfect age. Can I just say he's at the perfect age right now?
His birthday was yesterday.
It was.
His birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Ewan McGregor. He is the rival 50.
50. Hey, there you go.
He's 50. He looks like he's 25. And I'm like, and he hasn't aged. Well. He has very well.
Yeah, he looks great. But he's definitely in that perfect in between of playing that Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan to the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. So I feel like he's in that perfect look right now. So I'm so excited to just see him in the robes again. That's going to be so exciting. Just fantastic. We also have one of the most, it was rumored quite a few months ago, or weeks and months ago now, but we did have that whole story of that Hayden Christensen is returning to the series, which is super exciting. Of course, like no one in the planet was disappointed by that news coming out. What was your reaction to Hayden being back in the show?
So I squealed a little bit, like squealed. I was sitting on my bed at home watching the Investor Day, Disney Investor Day roll out, and they kept hitting one thing after the other, and then they were like, also Hayden Christensen is coming back, and I'm like, And like, like it's such an interesting thing because like Hayden Christensen is obviously he's Anakin Skywalker, he is Darth Vader. Like he has not been in any Star Wars projects since Revenge of the Sith, which I think concluded filming in 2004. And like that was like, and what was really interesting is I think it was Celebration 2017. I don't know if it was 2017 or 2019. Hayden Christensen was at Star Wars Celebration doing a what year?
Yeah. It was when
20
when they were in Orlando.
Yeah, it was in Orlando, 2017, I think.
That's 2017.
2017. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was Celebration Orlando in 2017, and I saw that Hayden Christensen was there, and that was the second time he had ever been at Celebration. I think the previous time was right before Attack of the Clones. And I was like, why is he here? He has never showed up.
Yeah.
Why is he here? If he is here, that means that he's going to be in some sort of Star Wars project at some point, because some of these actors, they don't show up. Like there's the Mark Hamills, there's the Carrie Fishers, of Star Wars that are always at Celebration, like Sam Witwer, Ray Park, etc. Peter Mayhew, sadly, he was there. I think he was there in 2019.
Yeah,
that was right before he passed away. And like I went to Celebration 2019, so like that was my very first Celebration thing. So when I saw Hayden at Celebration, I was like, okay, so he's there for a reason. And we had to wait 3 years to find out what that was. But it's not like Star Wars is making stuff up. They're planning years in advance.
They've got a good vision, good plan. So I hadn't actually thought about that. That is so true. That in his interview with name slipping me, but his interview he had on
she's from the Star Wars show, I think.
Show, she's from the show, but yeah, so that of course super exciting to see Hayden come back. How do you think he will be integrated into the actual storyline? So with the cast release, they did specifically say he's returning as Darth Vader. A lot of people had a lot of theories that Hayden will be coming back as like a young Anakin flashback thing with Anakin and Obi-Wan. But now that he's been named, he's coming back as Darth Vader. How do you think he's going to be in the show? How's that going to be incorporated?
Well, unless if they're going to retcon some stuff, which I hope they don't. Because the first time that Vader and Kenobi saw each other was in episode 4. Because Vader didn't even know, according to canon, Vader did not know that Kenobi was still alive. He thought that Kenobi had died in the Purge.
Yeah.
I think that we are only going to see him in passing. I'm not entirely sure exactly what this show is going to involve at all. My biggest question is, what was Kenobi doing outside of sitting in the desert for 19 years? So it's gonna be very interesting, but I honestly don't think that I think a lot of people want to see Hayden as Vader doing a bunch of stuff. And I think that he's going to be in the same type of role that Vader was in Rogue One, that he's only in a couple scenes. Like we're going to see some of the like Rise of the Empire stuff, but I think that we're maybe even going to see Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka in this show as well.
Ooh,
which would be really cool.
Yeah.
Now, obviously that's not, whatever. But like the fact that they had Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, which I don't know what the actor and actress's names are off the top of my head.
Bonnie Pierce.
Bonnie Pierce.
And Joel Edgerton.
Joel Edgerton. Thank you so much.
Yes. There you go.
The fact that they are in this show means that obviously, like, I'm sure my assumption is that we're actually going to see an alternate form of that end scene from Revenge of the Sith when he gives Luke away to them. I think that's what the only time. So my theory here is one of two things. That is the only time that they are going to show up. They could honestly just redo the end of Revenge of the Sith and just like show Hayden Christensen in the first episode as Vader, and that's it. That's all they could do. They could do like certain things, like you could see flashbacks of like what's going on. Obi-Wan Kenobi could have force visions of what Vader is actually doing, which would be really cool, because then we could actually see Order 66 and what is happening outside of just Revenge of the Sith. So he might maybe only be in like the first episode, but going into a little bit more, talking about Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, I think that they might only be in maybe the first episode when he gives Luke away. And then I think that this is kind of because it's only going to be, do we know how many episodes this is going to be? 8, 10?
I believe it's 8.
6. Okay. So it's 8? Okay.
So, yeah, there.
So it's 6 or 8. Okay. So if it's only going to be 6 episodes, that means that they have to do the entire series in 6 hours. So so every episode will be like an hour long. That means that my assumption is that it's going to start at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and it's going to go to A New Hope. So I think every episode is going to be a different time period. And it's not going to be like super linear, and it's just going to be like different things that happen to Kenobi as he's in the desert, as he's doing things. And I think that I think that Ahsoka is going to be involved, because
I like that theory. I hadn't thought about Ahsoka being in this show, to be honest, until you just said it. So interesting theory.
Well, he said Ahsoka says that Kenobi kind of trained her, correct? Like they at some point were in like communication, correct?
I don't remember
in Mando?
that.
When did she say that? Are you thinking about Mando?
That does bring up a good segue, because like there is that unfinished Clone Wars episode of Obi-Wan and Anakin talking at Utapau, where he's pretty much going to sleep, and I think that'd be a great like kind of dream transition if Obi-Wan like having that live action scene of him sitting in the campfire talking about Ahsoka leaving, and Anakin saying those lines to him. Is like, how is it any different if I did it? How would you feel if I did that?
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, we don't have to worry about that, or something like that. It's not going to happen. And then he closes his eyes and wakes up, and we're in Tatooine.
Yeah. See, the thing is, like, I don't want to put too much faith. I don't want to put too much faith in, this sounds really weird. I don't want to put too much faith in Lucasfilm. I don't want to get too hyped over Hayden Christensen being in this show. I think he's going to have a similar role to like Ahsoka had in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Like
I think that adds a lot of emphasis onto the character as well. I think we talked about it when we spoke about Clone Wars a little bit a couple episodes ago, about if they put Ahsoka is a very loved character, and if they put her in everything, she's going to lose that wow factor of there she is, there's Ahsoka. She's going to lose that factor. So I think they did her in Mando really well, of just putting in her for an episode. Did she come up again? She didn't come up again, did she? It was just the one episode.
She was
and
in
and
the.
it just focuses.
Was she in the? She was in the final episode too.
Yeah, I was like, was she? I don't think she was.
I haven't seen.
No.
So,
yeah,
okay, so
for some reason I thought she was. Okay.
So my assumption is that they're going to do the same thing with Hayden. I think that they're going to have her in one episode, and that's it.
Yeah, and just because then it will be really a lot more impactful, and the focus is on, wow, look at this scene that they had, and all the drama is there. Yeah. We mentioned them just before. Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, the stars of the show. I want them to be the stars of the show.
Nikk, by the way, your microphone is really low and over the stream, just letting you know.
It's probably not now.
No. It's working. It's working. Oh, so good.
Yeah. Aunt Beru.
But Aunt Beru. Oh, I want her recipe when she's making that thing in like the food processor in like A New Hope, and she's putting like pieces of like fennel like into this food. I want scenes of young Aunt Beru doing that. I want that. That's all I want from this show.
The only thing that I want from this show is I just want to know how to make blue milk. That's it. I want. See, we saw Luke Skywalker make green milk in the Last Jedi. I want to see Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru make blue milk in Kenobi. That's
Correct
what I
me
want.
if I'm wrong. It's from a bantha. Is that
what that is?
I'm pretty sure it's from a bantha. It's like bantha milk. Or maybe
Is
I'm
it
just
bantha
thinking
milk?
of the podcast Blue Bantha Milk. Maybe go. Like,
I don't know.
I'm just thinking that.
I mean, the only reason why I'm here is because Jordan has blue shadow virus.
That's so true. That's
He's fine
Blue
though.
Shadow virus. Oh, that's a good Clone Wars arc there. That's incredible. But I think so. We're talking about Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru, little Luke. Little boy Luke. He's 10 years old at this point.
Yep.
I think we'll actually be seeing a little bit of him. Quite like not a lot, but a good amount for some reason. I have this obviously there's no like little boy in the cast release we just got, but I feel like that's going to be something that they won't release like as news.
No, that's good. That's going to be like I think that is definitely a possibility. And you want to know another theory that's like not related to them?
Yeah.
I think that this would be the perfect segue to actually recast Luke Skywalker as Sebastian Stan.
Huh. Okay.
So,
all right. Yeah, I'm with that.
So
I can get on board with that.
We know that Lucasfilm listens to the fans. They understand.
Mm-hmm.
They might not listen all the time, but we got Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. Everybody wants Sebastian Stan, and like literally everybody, even Sebastian Stan has come out and said that. Okay, so
that was too. That was last week.
This is like a couple days ago.
This is fresh.
Yeah. So Sebastian Stan, on national television, said that the only way that he would play Luke Skywalker is if Mark Hamill was involved. And Mark Hamill, I think the quote was, "I will play Luke Skywalker if Mark Hamill will share the role with me." And then someone tweeted that at Mark Hamill, and he responded, and he said, let me look this up really quick, and then we'll get back to this.
That would be incredible, I think, and because Luke has to be in this show.
Yeah,
he just has to
Luke has to be in the show.
Yeah.
So are they going to are they going to deep fake Luke like they did in Mando, or are they gonna are they going to have somebody play him? And the deep fake of Luke Skywalker looks so bad. And like,
someone said it.
It looks so bad. It like when I saw that, I freaked out. But I was like, that looks really bad. Oh, but okay. So I did find, I found the quote.
Okay, yes. Just before we get to that, it just with the deep fake Luke, it felt like a Battlefront 2 cutscene. That's
right?
what I felt. I'm like the wow factor, because it was like, oh, that's Luke Skywalker, but then also.
Yeah.
Are we in Battlefront right now?
it looked like Battlefront. It looked like Leia from Rogue One. And they did such a good job with Peter Cushing in Rogue One and the way that he looks. And I understand, he looks animated. He does. I'm not going to discount that. He does look animated, but that the lighting on that looks so much better than what Leia looked like, which I think that they should have just had her daughter do it. What's Billy? Yeah. Billy Lord. I think they should just had her do it. She looks very similar. She could have just put some prosthetics on. And the reason why they probably didn't was just because of money. But if it's about money, then how much do they spend on the Peter Cushing animation? I
want to figure on that. Yeah, that's gonna.
Like, it's so much money.
Yeah.
Getting back to the quote, Mark Hamill said, quote, "This assumes I have any say in casting decisions at Lucasfilm when in fact I don't."
Wow.
So
That's already a big setup.
So basically, according to, and if you guys want to read that article, we actually have it on our Facebook page right now. You can go over to facebook.com/Culture Slate, and we have that came out a couple of hours ago. So if you want to go and read that, you can go do so right now. We have a bunch of articles segue into like our website. We actually post about 4 to 6 Star Wars related articles on our website, cultureslate.com, every single day. So go and check out all of the content that we have over there. But let's segue back into what we were talking about.
It's juicy content. Just
good.
Just like seeing Luke. Because the thing with Luke as well, seeing a young farm boy Luke, is that when he speaks of old Ben in A New Hope, he's saying it with context. Like, he knows him. He knows, it's not like Ben is a stranger and Kenobi is a stranger at that point. He's like, he speaks about him like you would speak a really old friend that you only see once a year, but you have a great connection with. So I would love to see that,
because he doesn't know who Obi-Wan Kenobi is, because he asked in A New Hope, is he one of your relatives, like your Ben Kenobi? And I also really want to, there's so many things that we can talk about. We can literally talk about this for like 10 hours. There's so many things that, like, why does he choose Ben? Like, where did that come from? Like that's are they going to explain why his name is Ben? Like, is Obi-Wan his actual name? That's not his real name. That's not how he got his name.
His actual name is Ben, and then his Jedi name is Obi-Wan.
I mean, like, we also don't know, because like all of the Jedi's names sound weird, but he's the only one that has like they all sound weird. But like my question is, like, where did that come from? Why did he choose that? Like, did he get it from an Imperial checkpoint when he joined the military? How did he get that name? Like, what is the backstory to that? Like, we like, one of the things that I really, really want to see is I want to see the planet of Jon Stew.
Okay.
Which, if you don't know, Jon Stew is the planet that Obi-Wan is from, according to legends. And according to
a real niche reference.
That's a very niche.
It's super niche. Wow.
So for those of you who don't know what that is and you've never heard of it, it's the planet that Obi-Wan comes from, and it's actually a tribute to Jon Stewart. I think George Lucas named it. He named it. George Lucas named Obi-Wan's planet after Jon Stewart, who is the talk show comedian, political comedian. Last week what show? Daily Show. He's the Daily Show host before like Trevor Noah took over. But like, so I want to see that planet. And I swear if they, for some reason, if they go and if they go and do Exegol again and change the name, I'm gonna be mad. I'm like, by the way, it's not it's Korriban, right? That's what it is.
Is it?
That's the legend's name for Exegol, right? Because this is the planet of the Sith. It's Korriban. If I'm not mistaken, someone in the comments on Stu John, thank you. Somebody, it's actually Stu John is the Obi-Wan's planet app.
That
thank
makes
you.
More sense.
I was like,
the whole time I was like, is that right?
I was like, that's right. That was wrong. It's Jon Stewart's planet. Anyway, sorry, my bad. But yeah, I'm just reading. You're still hoping for a recast of Ahsoka. I don't agree, but I feel
we need more Dexter content.
We need more Dexter.
I am for that. Let's get Dexter.
Oh, buddy.
Hello.
I would
A
be down there.
cloner.
Hello there.
So good. I also want to just mention a post that, just going back to the cast,
Yeah.
a post from Moses Ingham, who was cast in the series, which her character is unknown. We don't know who she's going to be yet.
Yep.
But she made an Instagram post, and I think, Nikk, we have it to show the audience as well. Her Instagram post says, "I play with lightsabers." So she just posted a picture of herself, a fantastic selfie. She looks fantastic. And her caption was, "I play with lightsabers." Inquisitor. So there she is, Moses Ingham. So she's the third one on the list, like just it's layout wise. So I know probably doesn't mean anything, but maybe. But my theory is,
I think honestly,
Inquisitor.
I think it does have, which, actually, that makes sense, because one of the things that we never see in Rebels or the Clone War, well, in Rebels, not the Clone Wars, one of the things that we don't see in Rebels, I just finished watching Rebels, we only see Vader talking to the Inquisitors twice.
Yeah, a lot of
I
the
think
time
it's only once or
like,
twice.
Yeah, it's often through people that they get like their assignments, or they just
And even during the time of Rebels too, like there was already some of them that were gone. Some of them Vader already offed in the comics, so there was already a few of them gone, but there's still I think two or three that haven't been shown yet. And it's we have a couple that will, especially in this timeline, could still be alive, because if we're gonna go off of like Fallen Order, like Cal and all that happens between like 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, and we don't. I think this is 8, so some of them are still alive and kicking. I mean, a lot of them are still.
I think because this is going back to the Hayden Darth Vader conversation of I agree we won't get a lot of him. I think we'll get some badass scene where maybe he's in a Star Destroyer going, "Oh, okay, Inquisitors, go check if Obi-Wan is still alive somewhere," giving some sort of an order, and maybe an Inquisitor comes to Tatooine. But then why wouldn't Vader just go himself if he hates Obi-Wan that much? That's okay. Maybe I just answered my own question.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, what's really interesting is, so she is the third person on this. Looking at this, I just pulled it up. She is the third person on this before Joel. So my assumption, because like my assumption is this isn't random. Like everything in Star Wars, everything is done for a reason. So my assumption is she's the third main character in this show.
Yeah.
Just from like if I'm gonna just like assume here, it's Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, and then her.
Yeah. So are we seeing a possible Inquisitor, or could we be seeing a Light Force user? If she's making a statement of "I play with lightsabers," maybe are we getting a new Jedi character that we haven't met before?
Maybe.
Yeah, and she's hiding out on Tatooine as well with Obi-Wan, and they're kind of.
So the Cave of Chaos brought up a
Mm-hmm.
good comment here. Wait, does Hayden mean James Earl Jones' voice as Vader? Voice work as Vader, which brings up a good point. Would you think that Vader is going to be voiced by James Earl Jones, or since there's a plethora of different voice actors, especially the guy, I forgot his name, and I feel bad.
Matt Lantern?
No, not Matt Lantern, but he's voiced Vader for a couple games, but he was in Resistance, the show Resistance, the main guy, not Kaz, but
yes, that voice actor.
That was the least favorite series for me. So yes, them. He voiced them pretty well too. So I wonder.
Scott Lawrence.
Yes.
I think so.
There is, yes. I think we'll be getting a Hayden voiced Vader. I think that's gonna.
You think so?
I think so.
Or we can get something like they did in Clone Wars, where he's battle damaged, and we get a mixture of both, which I would die for as well.
Oh, that would be incredible. I would actually kill for that too.
What would be really interesting, because like in Legends, at least, I know that there, like in Legends and in books, like Vader gets Like, and we see this in Rebels. Vader gets chopped up by Ahsoka in Rebels, and you hear his voice mixed with somebody else, which I don't know if that's Matt Lantern or who that. I think it is. So it is okay. So my assumption is that we're gonna see that, and I think maybe, I mean, with what is her name again? Sorry,
Moses Ingham.
Thank you. With her character, if she's playing with lightsabers, my assumption is that she is an Inquisitor, and maybe what happens is we see Darth Vader capture her and then take her and then turn her to the dark side, but in that process we see her try to kill Vader. And then you see Chad
also brought up in the chat, you know, we don't know what happened to Barriss Offrey. Could she be Barriss? And I mean,
she could be.
She could be. I mean, it'd be nice.
I just read that too, and that's blown my mind. I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a really good idea.
Because Barriss turns into an Inquisitor, and she's the Inquisitor in Rebels, correct?
We don't know yet. No, she wasn't. Well, that wasn't her in Rebels. No. We assumed that was the thing. Like when it was first aired and all, everyone assumed that Freddie Prinze Jr.'s wife was playing that Inquisitor was Barriss, but it wasn't. It was its own. She was her own thing. But yeah, we still don't know. And it could be who's chasing down Obi-Wan. I mean, it's kind of I mean, it'd be nice, but it would also kind of. I mean, I guess we gotta ask this: would it suck if that's how we saw Barriss' story come in against Obi-Wan and leading these clones or Stormtrooper, or would you enjoy that, or would you feel it'd be taken away and it wasn't for Ahsoka to fight as her being, you know, having some connection to it, but taking away just that connection from Clone Wars, if you just connected as she is a Jedi and she's familiar, like it could still work. I guess that's a good it's a good one.
Yeah, on YouTube, Dr. Holocron says that they rather Barriss be an antagonist for Ahsoka than for Obi-Wan because she has a relationship with Ahsoka, not Obi-Wan. So that's a very good point too. So maybe we could see Barriss in the Ahsoka show as an Inquisitor. In that sense too.
What's
which
not to say
I think
that
she's
not in both. And this is our
also
first
true.
And she is playing her. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
we all win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So good. I was having a great deep dive discussion with one of my friends the other day about the show, talking about storylines, what we could expect.
Yeah.
He brought up a great point. This period of time, the Empire is reigning. Yes, they're controlling everything. But Jabba's palace, that place is cranking.
Oh, absolutely.
How much are we going to see in this show, in Kenobi? Are we going to go to Jabba's palace? Are they going to be involved? Are we going to see a bit of Bosk, perhaps? a bit.
I mean, we do.
Action?
Yeah, I mean, we have the Book of Boba Fett coming out December of this year. So that's coming out before, and obviously that's taken place after Revenge of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, wow.
Which I mean, actually, Revenge of the Jedi was the original title for that movie anyway. But we're seeing like a Boba Fett story before Kenobi even comes out, and I mean, I think that it would be only natural to have Jabba's palace or something to do with that, because that's such a central storyline with Luke in the original trilogy. So that could definitely be a thing that we see. Yeah,
I think because in terms we've spoken a little bit about before, he needs to be doing something. What's he doing, hanging out in the dunes by himself? What's he getting up to? Yes, we might see a bit of a look at Luke's home and what's going on with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, what they're up to. But yeah, and we're gonna get that Darth Vader pop up. But what's actually going to be the meat of the episodes, and what's the content and the adventure or the story that he's going to go on? I think we could see a bit of like action, that adventure action of Obi-Wan kind of, or Ben at this point, facing some sort of bounty hunter, some sort of a threat, but then through that experience he's going to be having all these like emotional responses to what's happened in his life.
I actually have an idea and I have a theory. I actually might know what this show is all about. This show is about Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Because in Revenge of the Sith, I just remember this. In Revenge of the Sith, Yoda comes to Obi-Wan and says, I have learned a pathway to immortality through the Force. And your old master, Qui-Gon, has taught me how to do it. I'm going to teach you I'm going to teach you through the Force how to communicate to him. Because Qui-Gon is the first Force ghost. Yeah. And I think we see Qui-Gon in Clone Wars season 6, if I'm not mistaken, because he
in the Yoda arc.
In the Yoda arc. And that's when Yoda learns the Force Ghost power. And that's the reason why he's able to learn how to do it when he dies and then he shows up in episode 6. And then he teaches Ben how to do it as well. So I think a major part of this show is going to be that. And maybe this is how we also see Hayden come in too, because maybe part of that you have to, like, we don't know the process of how to become a Force ghost. My assumption is that you have to completely let go, and you have to completely, and we see he's already let go, because in episode 4, Obi-Wan is already dead. Obi-Wan is gone. Old Ben is there because, like, because, and if you notice, he is Ben Kenobi. He is not Obi-Wan Kenobi. He is old Ben Kenobi. And I think part of this whole arc that we're going to see, obviously this is a different theory, but maybe part of this arc, and this is how Hayden Christensen comes in. Obviously, we're going to see Uncle Owen and Emperor. We're going to see them in because he's so connected to Luke. And I think we might see a young Luke Skywalker, but I think that we're going to see a lot of Force projections. I think we're going to see a lot of Force sensitive stuff. And if you notice on that cast list, it doesn't list Liam Neeson on there, but I think he has said in the past that he would come back if asked.
Yes, and that wasn't actually too long ago. I feel like that was
it wasn't.
That was fairly recent.
So that would be amazing because of the fact that, like, we even got like a glimpse of that in the that I just know the book name and I just went all over my head. It's pretty much like the what ifs or whatever. Oh, someone in the chat help me. I know it's a book. It's not Mephisto. It was for the New Hope, and it was a bunch of short stories. Why am I drawing a blank on it? Why am I drawing a blank on it? Because it's such a weird name. It's like Star Wars something. But yes.
This is fascinating.
Yeah, I know. There's always something in every episode, right? But yeah, the point is like in there's a section of Obi-Wan where he's pretty much, it's right before his death in the battle of while he's fighting Darth Vader, and he's having these visions, and he's talking while he's getting swung at and he's about to go into the Force, he's being guided and seeing visions of the future and the past, and seeing stuff in the past and hearing Qui-Gon helping guiding him. So this would be an interesting way of seeing that connection, because at that point we know in theory that he was talking to Qui-Gon already. In A New Hope.
And then I found a interview note, like a quote from an interview that Liam Neeson did with Collider. And he said, quote, "I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard that at all." And that's in reference to him coming back or people wanting him to come back. But then he later added, "Sure, I'd be up for that. Yeah." End quote. So my assumption is that he's like being coy because he can't obviously say anything. So maybe we'll see like a Liam Neeson appearance in like another episode, and like maybe one of the episodes will just be Liam as Qui-Gon teaching Ewan McGregor how to become a Force ghost.
Absolutely.
And maybe we'll see. I'm sure that we will see Yoda in this show as well.
With Qui-Gon,
because like that doesn't make sense either, because how, like, he said that I'm going to teach you how to reach out to your own your old master Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Well, how is he going to teach it? Like, is Obi-Wan like, and we know that Yoda can force project himself across the galaxy just like Luke did. And he can, come in to wherever and be a Force ghost. So my assumption is that Yoda learned it first, then he went and taught Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon taught Yoda how to do it, and then Yoda went and helped him connect with Qui-Gon so he could also learn how to do it. Like, there's this show is going to be so interesting, and
there's a lot of elements, as cool as, let's see like Beru, what she's up to, but then there's also the super deep stuff of how is Obi-Wan going to process the past 10 years, the Clone Wars, but then also the 10 years after that. How is he emotionally processing that? Like, there's that really deep core stuff. And I think that's what, that's so Star Wars, that it's adventure, space, action, fun.
Oh, yeah.
But then it has these really deep core human experiences that it discusses.
Yeah.
So I'm so keen to learn about more about Obi-Wan's emotional journey, just as much as how cool it will be to see like things like little Luke.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is like what we see from like in real life, a lot of, there's a lot of people that believe that like we are all on a path to self-acceptance, self-discovery, and like, a sense of nirvana. And that's kind of what the Force is. And what if the entire purpose of this show and the way that you become a Force ghost is that you have to completely let go? And that could be a very interesting thing that we could be discussing in this show, and it's very interesting, like real human emotion behind it, that we are, we have the opportunity to see somebody that, saw his master be killed in front of him, and then his Padawan, him kill his Padawan in front of him, and all of his friends and all of his family, his lover Satine, like everybody
Satine.
died. Right?
Don't even mention Satine. I'm gonna tear up.
Like he has seen every single person around him die. Like, and his Padawan did it.
Yeah.
So imagine the mental toll and the soul crushing anxiety and anger and confusion that he must be going through. And imagine if, like, obviously the Jedi are all monks. That's what they are.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they don't have emotion. That doesn't mean that they don't have feelings. And what if Lucasfilm writes a story where they walk Obi-Wan through a ego death type thing where he becomes, and then through that he takes off the mantle of Obi-Wan Kenobi and then becomes old Ben Kenobi, and he is the now Grand Master of the Jedi. And we see like an entire just arc.
Yeah.
We
Nikk,
see
Nikk, you have juicy stuff to say.
Yes,
Nikk, what do
I'm
you
going to finish.
Yeah. So what we do is we see this entire arc from the beginning to the end of this 6-episode show that, it's a 6-hour show. I'm going to assume they're not going to make them less than an hour each because it's a one-off. Like over the entire arching thing of the entire episode, all 6-8 episodes or whatever it's going to be, we see Obi-Wan accept and kind of come to terms to what happened, because I mean, if I, when I'm in my 20s, see my master be killed by, a Sith, and I literally, I couldn't do anything about it. Like, I could not save Qui-Gon, and I saw him die, and to be in this, in this religion, the religion of the Jedi, where you're not supposed to have emotions, you're supposed to not have all of these, you're not supposed to have emotions, you're not supposed to have connections or love or anything.
Yeah.
And we also, and to back this up, like, this also could show that, like, like, he says that the Jedi do not exist anymore. Like, there is no more Jedi, and the next Jedi is, Luke and Leia. And then eventually, Luke rebuilds. But in episode 8, Yoda says that he agrees with Luke that the Jedi must end. And he literally sets the Force tree on fire.
Yeah.
And he's like, she does. And like, obviously, I know that she took the books from Octu. I understand that. But there's a little bit more behind that, because he says there's nothing in that temple that she doesn't already have. But I don't think Yoda was necessarily saying that to Rey. I think he was saying it to Luke, saying that Luke was right, that it is time for the Jedi to end. And whatever comes after, and this is what I think will be really interesting for like a possible Rian Johnson trilogy or Taika Waititi's movie. Is he doing Old Republic? Well, like, I'm sure that we were going to see an episode 10, 11, 12. At some point, probably in the 2030s, in like 10 years, we will see another 3 episodes that are after. But they're not going to be the Skywalker saga. It's going to be the next generation. It's going to be what comes after the Jedi. And they're going to take a lot of the teachings of the Jedi, and they're going to kind of morph it into this situation where you have connections and love and, belongings, but you also have it in a way that's a little more balanced. Maybe this is going to be the bounce board to actually see what that is. Nikk, you had
so going into all that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Really
going into that, because so think about this too. In season 6 of the Clone Wars, we saw Yoda have to go through the trials, and the trials is pretty dark for him, deep, and it had deep meanings that he had to go through, that he was fighting within himself. And it's gonna be neat that going off of that trail, I feel like these episodes are us following Obi-Wan's trials. We're gonna see Luke. It's gonna be sparingly. We're gonna see a bunch of stuff happen. Yes, he's gonna, there's gonna be action. There's gonna be people chasing him. Vader, all this stuff. But I think you're right. The moral of it is I think we're gonna get to see him communicate with Yoda still, communicate with Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon's the one who's gonna be guiding him, because that's been seeded too in the Clone Wars, and then seeded at the end, like we said in episode 3. And so now we're gonna actually see him finally come to terms where he probably becomes the caretaker, and understands that he has to believe in the Force and wait until the time is right. And then as he's trained, and he, I think that's a smart way of going about it, and it's going to be really good.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it, like George Lucas says that all of Star Wars rhymes with each other, and Qui-Gon believed that Anakin was the chosen one, but he also wasn't the chosen one. It was also Luke, it was also Leia, it was also Rey, and it was also Ben. And I don't think that the lineage, I don't think the chosen one is a singular person. I think just this is the same thing. It was like Avatar, the chosen one, the Avatar, the Skywalker. Skywalker's talking about you're walking across the stars. Well, the stars are at light speed and can they kind of transcend time and space as well. So what if the chosen one isn't a singular person, but is a lineage of people? It is Anakin, but it's also Luke, Leia, Ben, and Rey. And the Skywalker saga is about the chosen one, and then this goes back into The Last Jedi, and the reason why The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, and the reason why I like it so much is because, like, this is the reason why I personally believe that The Rise of Skywalker is like one of the best cinematic movies of all time. Like, it's not the best cinematic movie of all time, but I think it's the best story, the conclusion of the story of all time, because it ties in the thought that, well, the only way to truly defeat evil is for you yourself to defeat the evil within you. And that's literally what happened to Rey. She had to kill her grandfather, who is like, the emperor. Like, she has to, like, and it also rhymes with, you create your own demise too. Like, what did Palpatine want? Palpatine wanted immortality. He wanted to implant his soul into a different body, and he created Snoke, and it didn't work. It's assumed, obviously, it's assumed in and it's talked about in Legends, that Palpatine, and it's kind of assumed by me and a lot of people, that the version of Palpatine that we saw in The Rise of Skywalker was a clone of Palpatine, and he transmitted his Force Ghost into a new body. And it's like, there's the running theory that the reason why Palpatine wanted Anakin is because he wanted to then transmit his soul into Anakin. And it's explained in The Rise of Skywalker, if Rey strikes him down, he will then go and possess her. And why can't that be that was my understanding from episode 3 too, because that's basically his entire plan, because that's Darth Bane's plan and Darth Plagueis's plan. And that is the entire thing, is that's always what Star Wars has been about, it's about the Palpatines versus the Skywalkers.
Yes,
and
I think,
and this journey that Palpatine has,
the Palpawalkers,
try to, sure. And like this journey to create immortality, and Palpatine tempted Anakin with that, and what he wanted, and I'm sure that this is exactly what he did with all of the other Sith as well. And Plagueis was obsessed with it. I'm sure all of the other Sith were obsessed with it. So what if this, it's so hard to explain, because I understand this really, really well, and I can talk about this for hours. And it's all about the Skywalkers and the Palpatines, and the Palpatines' quest for immortality, and then the Skywalkers. The Skywalkers came into existence by the Force to counteract what the Palpatines were doing. And isn't it kind of poetic that the way that the Palpatines finally ended was ending themselves?
Absolutely.
And literally, when Rey said, "I am all of the Jedi," and Palpatine said, "I am all of the Sith," it was two negatives canceling out the evil. And Palpatine and Rey Palpatine literally killed herself, which she did. She died. She and which, I mean, not to bring religion into it, but you sacrifice yourself to save everybody else, and then you come back to life, and then you are a new person. And that's the Christian story, but and just in general, that's just the general thing, which, I mean, that's kind of I was raised in a religious household, and that was always my understanding from what Star Wars was about, which maybe is the reason why I like it so much. But it's very interesting. That is also the everything is talking about this thing of you have to go and destroy the evil parts of yourself and the evil in the galaxy by yourself. So isn't it interesting that Rey Palpatine killed Darth Sidious, a Palpatine, Sheev Palpatine, canceling out the Palpatine line for good, and then took up the mantle of the Skywalkers, which made her by name the chosen one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I completely agree with that whole idea and concept that there was never one chosen one. Even though Qui-Gon was so certain it's going to be Anakin, he's the chosen one. The whole idea that the chosen one actually is more of a like a spirit that kind of was a way of thinking and a way of being to be the chosen one. But Anakin was it, but then he got too vain and arrogant, and so it lost in him
Yeah.
and went into Luke and Leia, and
Yeah.
then that went into Ben and Rey. So it's like I totally agree in the sense that the Skywalker name was more of that journey of balance and understanding what balance is in light and dark. And
Yeah.
well, yeah, what you were saying about the Palpatines, it's having to deny yourself and to
Yeah.
that's the actual story that came out of that. Rey having to say, I'm not like whatever the
I'm
nostalgia
not
these
this.
people
I'm
hate.
gonna
Yeah.
choose something else.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand that people can hate that she said, I'm Rey Skywalker, but if we think
She
about
is.
the meaning behind it,
That's what it is.
what she's
But
taken up. Yeah.
But aren't you Rey Skywalker? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, inside I am.
Yeah.
That's so good. But yeah, the fact that she had to deny herself and deny
Her lineage.
what was in her and her lineage, and take up that mantle of the Skywalker. She was saying, I don't want to be this darkness inside.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And yeah,
Obi-Wan though.
Obi-Wan, yeah. Like,
Obi-Wan.
yeah, I mean, like, I love Star Wars so much, but like Obi-Wan, to finish this up so we can move into the next section, which is we're going to be talking about the Bad Batch. I think it's going to definitely be this arcing story about Obi-Wan's path into like this Nirvana type state where we're going to see Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Yoda, and he's going to have to maybe even battle Darth Vader in his mind and get over it and go through that. And maybe that's how Hayden will fit into the story, and we'll see Inquisitors and people trying to hunt him down and everything.
Definitely.
Because there was one line that Vader said, and we'll finish this. We'll finish on this. Vader says, I have not felt, like he said, Obi-Wan is on the ship. What was the line? He said, I haven't felt that energy.
He's here.
He's here or something. Like I know he's here. And at that some point he said,
since,
yeah,
and then he walks away.
Yeah. And he said that he hadn't felt that presence since, and then walks away. Well, what's that sense? Is he talking about Mustafar, or is he talking about something that happens in Kenobi?
That's a good thought.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. So, well, clearly there's a lot of questions where we're so excited to get answered into the show of Kenobi. 2023, that's no, 2022.
No, 2020, 2022.
Next year. That's so excited for that. But yeah, in the same thought of new Star Wars shows that are coming, it's been a big week, hasn't it? We've had the
it's definitely been a very big week.
And then like we said,
it's Star Wars season.
We just got hit with Bad Batch trailer, and no one was ready for it. It was 4 a.m. in Australia time, where the same thing happened, Claire, where I got all these dings of, oh my gosh, Bad Batch trailer, and I woke up
and we were trying to figure out how to deal with it, and I'm just like, I don't know.
No one could do with it. Like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? This is insane. And it's, if you haven't watched the trailer, be sure to check it out. It's only like 2 minutes 30 or something, 2 minutes 10. It's not
I think it's 2:20, 2:26.
Yeah, cool.
So it's not very long. I watched it. I thought it was very interesting. Yeah,
there's a bit in it. Oh boy.
Yeah, just a wee bit. Whew.
So I have some major questions, and this is what I love about a good trailer. It answers a lot and it shows you a lot, but it also leaves you with like triple the amount of questions you had before the trailer. Yeah. So I had so many things to talk about this Bad Batch trailer, but let's just start off. When you first watched the trailer, what was your initial reaction, your feeling, initial emotion? What did you first think about it?
why am I watching this? I should be like not watching the trailer so I can be not spoiled at all. But then I realized that Star Wars is my job, so I don't get the privilege of not being spoiled.
Yeah, true.
My first initial reactions was, wait a second. So have they been captured by the Empire? Why are they in a Imperial camp? Why is Rex there? What is going on? Is this like my I mean, this is just kind of my assumption is this is a story, like this is only going to be one season as well, right? This is a one time thing, or do we know?
I don't think that is true. I think this might be a
Okay.
multi-season thing. Yeah, but
I
that's
hope
not
so.
confirmed. That's
That's
just
not
my
confirmed.
impression.
That's
Not
just
confirmed.
okay. Yeah, I don't know. Which I mean, this is a good test. Like I don't know if they're gonna have what Rebels was 4 seasons, so maybe we could have 4 seasons of Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So my initial reaction is like, what is going on? Like, why? Because at the end of the Clone Wars, they're all talking about like going off on their own and doing things, and that was right before Order 66, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, so I some of the things online, I know that they people were saying, well, okay, so if they're like, do they have inhibitor chips?
Yes, and that was my biggest question going into
Yeah,
like
is
the
that
trailer,
why?
is just
Is
the
that
whole thing of
why?
what
Is that why
happened. Did
Tarkin's
they
there?
do it? Yeah. Did they
Like,
do they
is
have it, or their chips don't work, or they just
yeah?
haven't had the chips
Well,
because they
well,
like
we know
forgot
that
to do it because they're like they're different.
Echo doesn't have the chip.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't have the chip.
Oh yeah.
And we also know that Rex doesn't have the chip, but he does at the same time because he turned his. I think did Rex's chip malfunction?
No, he got it taken out. Remember?
He got it taken out,
Ahsoka,
but
season 7, you got it taken out.
okay, so he got it taken out, but
functioned.
so because he tried to kill Ahsoka initially,
Yeah.
and then she cut it out of him.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
like I
'cause-
think he overrided it, and then she cut it out of him.
Yes, that was the
That
insane
was
like 2.5 seconds of Rex shaking in season 7 going find fives, and then he just shoots. Oh man, that is the most intense 2 seconds of Star Wars.
Oh my god. It
in
was
my opinion.
Yeah. I watched that the
So-
other day. I
so
was just
yeah.
like, oh my god.
Right? So yeah, so Rex has the chip and then it's
Yeah.
taken out of him. So I don't, because who would have taken it out? Did Rex
Well,
find
my
them and,
question
you know-
is that inhibitor chip put in when they're adults, or is that part of the cloning process?
That's
like
it's put in very early fetal
yeah,
time.
so
That's
every
very
single
early on.
clone would have one, regardless if they are the Bad Batch or not.
That's
like,
true. That's true. Yeah.
So my assumption, just by simple logic, is that they would have it on it. Like,
but because maybe they're genetically
Yeah.
a bad batch and different,
maybe they
it didn't work. It didn't click for them. Like maybe it happened. Order 66. Maybe we'll see this in the show. Order 66 happens around them. They see all these clones
yeah.
going for Jedis, and they're going, hang on, why do we need to do that?
Yeah.
They don't have the urge. Maybe it just doesn't click for them. But they have the
Well,
chip, maybe. That
yeah,
could be. That's one theory.
I mean that could be it. Maybe because like we see them in an Imperial training camp.
Yeah,
in the
that is
trailer.
cool, though. Yeah.
So my question is, are they there to do a mission, or are they there because they're part of the Empire now? But the thing is that like
yeah.
because see, my thinking is I think that they're there to infiltrate the Empire and get somebody out.
Okay.
So are we
Yes.
getting Ahsoka out? Are we seeing somebody being rescued? What's going on? Are they coming to go and get Rex? Like,
I think
because we know that Rex obviously gets out and is with the other clones and rebels, right? So, and we see him in the show. Honestly, I think that this show is going to pick up exactly where Clone Wars ended with them.
I agree.
Because
I
that
think
just
it's gonna
makes
be right
sense.
there. Yeah.
It's right then, or like shortly after.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think I don't know how, but yeah, somehow their chip doesn't work. They just did not do Order 66, but I think they are smart enough as a group to realize that if they just suddenly rebel and now what is the Empire, they're gonna just be like gone. They're gonna be killed. So I think they play along with the whole Empire. Oh yeah, we'll become a stormtrooper kind of thing. Moff Tarkin has like we have his attention. I think Moff Tarkin wants the Bad Batch as like I think he says it at the start, kind of like they're a special unit, they're a special batch, but they're a little bit not good at listening to directions. And I think
Yeah.
that's going to be the start of the story of Bad Batch are in the Empire, but they're cluey enough to keep going along with it until they go, hang on, Empire is messed up, we're not going to be a part of this, and then they come on that adventure. And I love, one of my favorite things of the trailer was we're going to get a Saw Gerrera. Of course, that makes sense. He's a extremist rebel at this point.
Yeah.
Like he's got similar kind of that real explosive, for lack of a better term, no pun intended, explosive kind of character that I think will really work well with the Bad Batch. So the character of Saw Gerrera and Bad Batch I think is going to be a fantastic mix. And I think Bad Batch going to break out of some sort of Imperial camp training area, and then they're going to start going on into the galaxy, going, who can we trust, who can we kind of buddy up with.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
my
the other thing to like mention, this is another obscure thing that a lot of people don't know
here we
about.
go.
Another thing in this show, because this takes place during Order 66 as well, and like this is during Order 66, this whole transition between the Republic turning to the Empire is Order 99. Oh, do you even know what that is?
No. What's
Okay, so
do tell.
I know a lot about Star Wars.
Yeah, you know some niche things, man.
So Order 99 is Dooku's order to the droids to shut down and then change allegiances from the to the Grand Army of the Republic.
Wow. Okay.
So
yes,
the quote from Wikipedia is, what is a droid, Dooku? So this is from Sidious talking to Dooku. He says, what is a droid, Dooku, but a clone by a different name? Built, not grown, but merely programmed tools. Such tools can be twisted to better suit my purpose. You have your orders, and so will they. And my question is, so we see in Star Wars Rebels that there is a militia on the planet of droids that are against the rebels, but not the Republic. So we know that the Order 99 is something that occurred, because that's what it is, that's what happened. And this band of this one, I don't know what planet it's on, but this band of droids are now loyal to, they've switched allegiances,
if you will.
The clankers have switched allegiances from the separatists to the Grand Army of the Republic, and eventually then they were decommissioned shortly after Order 66 happened, once the transition between the clones and then the non-clone troopers, the stormtroopers, which also would be very interesting to see the difference of like what happened to all of the clones. Maybe we'll see a little bit of that. So Order 99 is part, so I explain what that is, and then there's like a thing from a comic on Wikipedia. It says, I heard a voice whisper Order 99 over my comm, and my primary systems shut down. And this is basically talking about, if I'm not mistaken, like their directive was to be decommissioned at this point. And there's not a lot of information about this on Wikipedia, so I can't give like a lot of information, but it just says Order 99 was a directive for the separatist droid army during the Clone Wars. It was issued during a battle on the planet Bagoa. Bagoa.
Sounds like
can't-
Bogano. Bogano?
Bogo-
Is that the Fallen Order planet?
Bogoa. I don't know.
Bogoa?
To the B1 battle droid, Copper Top by Count Dooku on the orders of Darth Sidious, who sought to test the battle droid's ability to change allegiances as a precursor of the Grand Army, as a precursor, ability to change allegiance as a precursor to the Grand Army of the Republic's own Order 66. So basically, Order 99 was something that happened shortly before Order 66, and it was a system test to see what would happen to the droids when and like as a test to see what would happen to the droids switching from the Separatists to the Republic, and then eventually, then obviously the Republic got reorganized into the First Galactic Empire.
Do you think we're gonna see the droids in the Bad Batch though? I don't.
Yes.
I feel really. Ooh.
Yeah.
In what capacity? To simulate in Rebels,
Something like that. I mean, they're still around because when the Bad Batch broke off, they were fighting clankers. They were because it was Rex and Ahsoka talking to the Bad Batch, and the Bad Batch went off, and they were just finishing a battle against battle droids. So we know that they're there. So I mean, I don't know if we're necessarily going to see like Order 99 or whatever Lucasfilm through Disney is going to actually call that. But I think that we're going to see something very similar. Let me check the YouTube chat and see what people are saying about this.
Because the decommissioning of the clones is definitely a story that we haven't gotten enough of, and I think that a lot of people are excited for that, of how that kind of transition worked, how that happens, and how that manifests. And I think that's a really good thought, that the same thing happens for the droids. It does, and how the Empire is working at this point, and where all these little subgroups like the Bad Batch are fitting into the storyline. I think, Nick, what do you think? What do you think about seeing some droids, seeing some clankers?
So I'm pretty sure in the trailer too that we saw them like shooting and fighting some of them.
Might be muted.
Chad,
there we go.
Said that they were in the trailer.
Yeah, they were in the trailer.
So maybe they were.
They were in the trailer. Yeah, they were in the trailer.
That's right.
So they're in the show. So
yeah. I think it's interesting that, because I think we're gonna get a lot of hints of like cloning. I feel like go deep into it, because we see that new clone.
Yeah. Because we don't necessarily know when the transition between clones and stormtroopers happened, and I know that Culture Slate just wrote an article, or we're in the process of making a video about this. And it hasn't come across my desk yet. So eventually I will know this information, but it's talking about what happened to the clones after Order 66.
Yeah. Because
how long did the clones serve the Empire before they were eventually replaced? And did the Kaminoans, thank you. Like, how long was the Kaminoans' contract with Sidious? Like, did he go and wipe them out? So that couldn't be happening. Did he go and steal them and then use their technology with cloning to clone himself, and then obviously clone Snoke in episode 7, 8, and 9? And we also see that we know from the Mandalorian that Sidious and the Empire were trying to figure it out. So my question is, are we going to see that also in the Bad Batch? So we're going to see the Empire dissolve the Camino's involvement with the cloning process. Are we going to see, maybe is that why the Bad Batch is in the Imperial camp, are they testing their militaristic know-how to see if this if the Empire can use them for
Clone the
what they
Bad
want.
Batch.
Yeah, maybe they were trying to clone the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Maybe they
Go
were
on.
trying to test their ability to see like if they should continue to use clones after the Order 66, or should they switch over to, eventually we know that they did switch over to the stormtroopers, and then they just took children and raised them up. But and then obviously after, and then that's what happened again when the First Order rise as well. So we know that none of the clones made it to episode 4.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so
where do
what-
they
yeah.
like? Do they get dissolved? Do they get all killed? Like, what is going? Like, what go? What's going to go on? What do you think,
Absolutely.
Nick? Hannah?
I mean, I think we're on the right track. I think that this will be a couple seasons, no more than like 3 to 4, and I think we're gonna see that happen within here. And I think that like we already are seeing. So far, Lucasfilm has been with the trailers and clips only showing us the first arc. In reality, and maybe snippets
it's
from the
just
second.
like-
So if we're thinking of it this way, we already see that there's like this battle going on. We're seeing them getting pulled from it. Obviously, this seems to be going on during Order 66. And I think that we're going to start to see a flux change in the Empire. And we're going to go back to Camino and see different testing going on. Because the Bad Batch was done for a reason. And they were, quote unquote, I guess, defected. But like, they were testing and altering the clones with other DNA, which I think we're going to get more in depth in on this.
Well, I mean, like maybe with that's a good point. Maybe what they are doing is they are trying to figure out this is the reason why the Bad Batch happened, is that they were trying to figure out exactly what combination to do so they could create them on maybe even more of a mass scale, so they didn't have to go with the stormtroopers. And maybe the reason why they eventually decommissioned the clones and then they went with stormtroopers is because it's easier to program people that don't have, it's easier to program actual humans that are real, that aren't just cloned, to be obedient. Because, obviously Rex's inhibitor chip malfunctioned, and then eventually got cut out by Ahsoka.
Malfunctioned. I don't think
I think it's more of the will and the different. I think it shows the differences in the ability of each of these clones and how each of them shows some kind of independence.
Resistance.
And that was the whole thing. Like they all had some kind of independence and signature to themselves to make them unique, regardless of the fact that they look the same. Some of them, obviously, a good chunk of the army couldn't bypass that or figure out a way. I have a feeling that there are some clones that either A, was defected, or B, they had a strong will to break free from it, or enough to be able to get it removed or understand. But I think we're definitely going to get more information on that from other clones, which would be nice.
like
absolutely. We're definitely gonna know a lot more after this. But like I really think, like, especially with like the thing that I just really want to know is I really just want to see this transition between I want to see this transition between clones and stormtroopers, because like it's gonna be and I think this is the perfect time to do it. I think this is the perfect show to do it. Is that basically, and this is obviously my assumption with Tarkin's involvement in this show, is that, well, he's there for a reason. So he's probably testing the clones and this, and the Bad Batch specifically, to see if they are fit enough to be part of the Empire. And I think maybe in this process, we're going to see that the amount of people, like the amount of clones that defected that weren't down for doing this, like they initially killed all the Jedi and executed Order 66 effectively. But as time went on, there was a lot of failures, and there was that, and then that's where the transition between clones and clone troopers happened.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's going to be a big thread throughout the whole show that I think I'm very interested to see how they answer that. In terms of character cameos that we're going to see, I just love the fact that we're going to see more Fennec Shand in this. I loved her in Mando. She looked so badass. She was that episode she did with Boba in Mando was just so good.
It was so good.
It's so good, right? It was just such a good episode. So the fact that we're going to see her.
Does that mean that we're going to all like I would imagine that we're not going to see like a young Boba Fett in that.
I don't think so. I don't think so, but
I don't think so because the first time that they meet is in Mando.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah,
but
it would make sense if they're together, but would I want to see a Boba in Bad Batch? Absolutely. I don't think we will though. But Fennec Shand, I'm super interested to see her story of what she's doing because she's a
I want to know
I
want to know more about her. I just want to know more about her. And I think her inclusion in the Bad Batch is obviously to give her more story to like a lot of the things that we see that happen in Bad Batch are going to play out in the Book of Boba Fett. Like that's why she's in the show. I think that might be the sole reason why she's in the show is because they didn't give her a lot of backstory in The Mandalorian. And I think that the reason why they wanted to put her in the Bad Batch is specifically because if they put her in the Bad Batch, that means that they can give her a lot more backstory without like taking up a lot of time and space in the Book of Boba Fett. It encourages people to go and actually watch the Bad Batch and, sign up for Disney Plus to go and see it. And if people go and watch the Book of Boba Fett and something is referenced from either there's a reference to something that happens in Bad Batch or there's a reference that happens in The Mandalorian, then people are going to be more opted into wanting to watch The Mandalorian and then obviously the Bad Batch, which on like just a business scale that sells more toys and memorabilia and people get more into Star Wars, and then people might go and read the books or the comics or anything else. And it's just like I think a little bit of it is like a marketing move to have somebody from one thing go into the other. But this is also one of the very first times. I mean, obviously I know like the Clone Wars specifically, but this is the first time in Disney era that we have had a live action character that was introduced in a live action make their way to an animated screen as well.
Yeah, and I think that is such a cool concept. And I think you're right in saying that it's giving her more a kind of context and backstory to make her make more sense than Boba. I totally agree. But and I think we're going to get a great character here. And in the whole thought of strong female characters and the strong female lead we did have a Mando, and the story behind that actor not being with us anymore, that was such a disappointment and such a letdown. So I think to have this another strong female character, kicking ass, this is life after the Clone Wars, like she's bounty hunting, but I don't know what it is, but she's going to have a fantastic story. And I really hope that she does become a really interesting part of Bad Batch, of Boba, and still be in Mando, because she's a fantastic character just from the bits of what we've seen with her. And she's so, like, if we think of that episode she was in season 1 of Mando, and what's that pretty boy's name on Tatooine that Mando like hates? What's his name? I don't like him at all. But anyway, she just like shuts him down. She shuts Mando down.
Does anybody in the chat actually know his name? Could somebody in the chat on YouTube or Facebook
he was really cocky and was really annoying.
Yeah, what was his name? Yeah. Somebody tell me, please let me know.
His name was Cocky Boy. Cocky
Boy 101.
Han Solo wannabe, but with a really bad attitude.
Yes. Right? So, and she just had time for none of it, and she was just like, "No, stuff yours." Like, and she like outsmarted them both.
Oh yeah.
Like just her introduction to her character, what I think was amazing, was so good. So I'm ready. To
Which,
see
by the
more
way,
of
he
her
is
in
one
Bad
of the
Batch.
that character is probably one of my favorite like throwaway characters.
Right. I'm so glad yeah. Oh, stupid.
Yeah, I like he's like there specifically just to, like he's just there to move the story along. I understand that, but he's like still one of my favorite characters from like Mandalorian, because he's there and that's it. You see him once and that's it. And like it's just like having uh Timothy Oliphant. That's his name.
Yep,
Yeah. Oliphant in one episode. Obviously, he is the main character from Justified on FX. So like, and I think it's very fitting to have somebody like that has played a cowboy like sheriff character in a show be that type. Be well. What is his title in Mando? He is the
well, no, what is like in the town?
Yeah, in the town.
Is it? It's not sheriff.
He's
no,
the
it's the marshal. The marshal.
The marshal. Yeah. I think. Yeah. So like he is the marshal, and I think that like that was perfectly typecast of like having somebody like that be that, and I think like he's one of my favorite characters in season 2. Like he might actually be my favorite season 2 character. That's not like that was like a new character, because obviously like I really like I love Bo-Katan, I love Ahsoka. I love, obviously you only see Luke for 30 seconds, but that is obviously that was the highlight of the entire thing. And like I think that going back into like cameos that we want to see in the Bad Batch. I mean, like I would ideally like to see Ahsoka. I think that we might see flashbacks to her. I think that we will also probably see Darth Vader at some point in this show.
At some point,
At some point, that just makes sense, because like if Tarkin's there and whatever, and that's like a huge thing. I don't know if we're necessarily going to see I don't think we're going to see Palpatine, but I mean, let us know what who you guys want to see in the comments, and then we'll talk to you guys in the YouTube comments. So like who do you want to see, Hannah?
Who do I want? I want to see Ahsoka, purely because I would see her in anything. But now that it just makes sense that we see Saw, I want to see Bad Batch. They're not going to join the rebels. I don't think that will happen. No. But I want to see Bad Batch kind of interact with even like
the beginning of the rebellion.
Almost like have a run-in with Bail, and they have like a deep conversation about like the galaxy and what's wrong with it, and then they like separate ways. I want that kind of interaction, because I think the Bad Batch by surface is this kick-ass group of guys that just own and cut it up and look super cool. But I think they're gonna go on this kind of deep journey as a group, but also as individuals, learning about the galaxy. They understand themselves. Hey, the Empire is actually not doing the greatest to people and to communities and planets, but what are we gonna do about it? I think that's gonna be kind of the deeper question about the show. So it's gonna have that kick-ass look, but as a group, but also
let's actually Nikk, do you have something? I want to expand on like what this show is actually about and what the meaning is, but Nikk, do you have something to say?
No, I think let's start diving into the actual show and the meaning. I think that'll be good.
I
think that'd be good.
Because I think because Clone Wars did that. If we think of and not that people are calling this Clone Wars sequel, or the it's Clone Wars season 8. I think someone said that in the chat before, but it's gonna have that similar style of Clone Wars of it's a kids show. It's for like teens or but really it isn't. But it's gonna have that cool visual look that is gonna be this fun adventure story that's gonna drive it along. That's gonna make it watchable and make people enjoy it. But it's going to have these themes that are talking about having more awareness of people around you, having to become less self-centered, and not that I think the Bad Batch are fundamentally bad or bad people. I think they're very independent, and they're going to start becoming aware of the worlds and the galaxy around them, and they're to become more considerate of the negativity and the bad things that are happening in the galaxy.
So Claire, Chad asks, I want to see Cody and Rex fighting.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had a Bad Batch chat at like the second episode of the Star Wars Culture Show, and that was a theory that I absolutely loved. What if Cody is like a main antagonist in the show? If Cody is just like really annoying, he's like deep in Empire ranks, and he comes.
He's got to be.
Yeah.
I mean it wouldn't make much sense if he wasn't. I mean, like, that would make a lot of sense if he was.
I mean, it's kind of ties into, like, I think Cody will be the clone that we follow that stays with the Empire through, and we will see Cody and Obi-Wan as well. I hope. I'm gonna put that down. But yeah, I think we'll see Cody at some point confront Obi-Wan or be a part of that.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I mean,
we'll probably see them fight here too, but not.
Yeah, I mean, like, we could also. We could see Commander Cody lead, lead going back to the Kenobi show. I mean, we could even see Cody in that as well, which would be really interesting to see Morrison in that role as well. I mean, that would be really interesting to like DH him, hopefully better than they did. I'm going to complain about this really quick. Again, I think that they should have just done Sebastian Stan for Luke Skywalker. And I know why they didn't, and it's because they don't. The reason why they didn't is because they don't want to. If they are going to do a Luke Skywalker live action show, they are going to want Sebastian Stan, and if they choose Sebastian Stan for that, they're going to want that to be a surprise for when they cast him, not having him be a cameo and then something happened to him and then them not be able to do it. That's the reason why they did the deep fake. That's the only rational reason why, is because they either don't want to announce it or they don't want to make a final decision until that comes around, because a Luke Skywalker show is 2030 at this point, probably 2027.
And I don't even think that just because we saw the CGI version, it's enough to sell it to a point where that's it. We're sold. Because, like, I mean, there's been a lot of inconsistencies in Star Wars before, and there still kind of is, and I don't think it matters, Like, if it helps the story, and the story works, and the actor works for the role, I don't think there's a problem. And enjoy it. And if you don't like it, then it's not for you, and not everything's for everyone.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, and like, so Extremely Low Budget Production says Saw Gerrera would be an excellent plug-in, and I agree. I mean, we saw him. We saw him. Yeah. Saw. So we saw Saw Gerrera in Rebels, and he is a radical. He's insane. I want to know why.
Yeah, I like that we're getting pieces. I think his story, since it's not a lot, but yet it's another character that's been kind of flushed out, but I feel like it's enough to kind of see. I think we're going to see a good chunk of his story and kind of get more of an understanding where he is in Rogue One and in Rebels, and see why he's so much. I mean, we always knew that he was extreme, but like,
because there was that fantastic. Now, this is one of my biggest gripes with Star Wars Clone Wars. Onderon. Why do you have to name another planet so close to Alderaan? There's Alderaan, then there's Onderon. What? That's so annoying. But he had that fantastic arc on Onderon where, what is his sister's name? Oh my goodness, it is completely blanking on me. But he has that whole arc where they revolt against the droids coming to their planet, and then his sister dies, and Ahsoka's there, and there's that whole story. Stella, thank you so much. Also, Stella and Lux, I don't ship that. I ship Ahsoka and Lux. Come on.
Yeah.
But he has that great story.
Yeah.
well, it's a great story, but it's because it's interesting, and you can see that's where he gets a lot of anguish from. He sees his sisters die,
Exactly.
and that I think that starts that manifestation.
Is that it? That's in the Clone Wars, right?
Correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like season 4. I want to say.
I think it's close to the end of 4 or
I have not
Five?
seen the Clone Wars in about 10 years.
Season 4
So
or 5.
I'm actually
but,
I'm currently on season 1. So I finished Rebels a few weeks ago for the very first time and flipped biscuits at the last couple episodes. It was insane. And then now I'm watching the Clone Wars. So over the next coming months, y'all are gonna hear me like freak out about things that I either forgot about or never actually saw, because I didn't watch it when I was a kid. Like I didn't watch all of it when I was a kid.
So much in Clone Wars.
So much. I mean, like it's 7 seasons now. We're getting like essentially an 8th season of the Clone Wars. I mean, it's the same animation. It's gonna look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I think this is probably the perfect show. I think this is probably the perfect show for them to start their phase 3 or 4 or whatever phase Star Wars is on, to put feelers that Kevin Feige, which by the way, he is not behind Star Wars.
Yeah, where did that theory come from?
I don't know.
Absolutely not. Of course.
Yeah, there's been, so for those of you who don't know, really quick, there's been a lot of theories recently that Kevin Feige is secretly in charge of Lucasfilm, and he's not.
No.
And the reason why people are think that is because people hate Kathleen Kennedy, unfortunately, so much. They just want somebody else to be in charge, and they want Kevin Feige in charge. They want Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni, and
I was gonna say, we don't need Kevin Feige. We have Dave Filoni.
We have Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
And the thing is that a lot of people, I don't think realize this, and I want to discuss this, is a lot of people do not get that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are not leaders. They are creators. And there's been a lot of stuff on Twitter, and I've seen a lot of stuff on the Star Wars culture Twitter of people spreading this false news that Feige is in charge and Kennedy's on her way out. I'm like, dude, Mandalorian and the Bad Batch and all of this stuff is being announced while Kennedy is where. The reason why Disney Plus is so popular is because of the Mandalorian, and who did that? It was under Kathleen Kennedy. Yes, I understand that Jon Favreau and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are in charge. They are the people that are making the show, but she is their boss, so she's going to get a lot of credit too. And the higher ups at Disney see that. And yes, I understand a lot of people do not like Kathleen Kennedy because of The Last Jedi, but the thing is, that is not enough of a reason to dislike her to the point that people do. I don't like a lot of the
hate. They just want
of course,
to point the finger and go,
I mean,
"Oh no, you suck."
A lot of people like to think that they know what's really going on, or it's none of us really know the inside business, and it's that's not our point, and that takes the fun. That honestly takes the fun.
Yeah, it really does.
Star Wars.
It's Nick, you're a computer guy. It's me thinking I'm better at you because I can use a PDF. That's that same theory. That's that same example.
Yeah,
it's
it's everyone's entitled to their opinion for sure, and everyone's entitled to bring up their input. But it's an adult conversation to have where it's separating the argument from a discussion, and then separating that reality from discussion and argument.
Exactly.
So, but
I mean, and I think it's just kind of sad that people want they want a face to hate, and it's not fair. It's not fair to her either, because these people they're so angry at a movie. Just quickly think about that. You're angry because you got overexcited about a movie and you had preconceived notions of what this movie was going to be, and then it wasn't that. The Last Jedi is not a bad movie. I'm not going to say it's an amazing movie. They are cinematic and story element problems with that movie, but it's not a bad movie. And if you want to go and hate The Last Jedi and be one of those angry people on Twitter, That's fine. You can do that. But that does not give you the right to go and threaten other people. And like there's people that are sending death threats to Kathleen Kennedy and people higher ups at Lucasfilm, and it's not okay. Like I do until the last when the Last Jedi came out, I didn't like it. I'll be the first person to say I didn't like it. But now it's been a couple of years. I've seen Rise of Skywalker, and I'm fine with the Last Jedi. No, I don't like Canto Bight. I think it's a stupid scene, but that doesn't mean that the entire movie is crap. There's still a lot of things that I like about the movie, and I think it fits in. I think it fits into a lot of the into this larger discussion about like what people expect versus what they get, and it's the expectations versus reality. And I think some people we hear all the time that The Last Jedi subverted people's expectations and subverted what people were expecting from a Luke Skywalker movie, but it's not about Luke Skywalker at all, and his part in the movie makes perfect sense. With what happened to him, if you look at it from a psychological point of view, all of his students died. They were murdered by his nephew, and why?
Saw his grandparents. I mean, not grandparents. His uncle, his aunt and uncle too. You know that this his first start into his whole adventure to becoming this great thing has been led by death and tragedy.
Exactly. And if we want to talk about psychology for just a minute, the toll that puts on you is so intense, because if you think about it, his nephew, and obviously I understand his family got torn apart. His sister and Leia and Han literally split up over this too. I understand Han is a lone wolf and whatever, but they split up over this. This destroyed his family, and he just wanted it to end. And Yoda backed him up and said, yeah, it's time for the Jedi to end. These ways and this religion is outdated. We need to move on. We need to move past. We need to create something else that has something to do with this, but something that's better. And his psyche in episode 8 is perfectly fine, because on a rational scale, if that happened to anybody, of course, that's what would end up happening. It makes sense. Yes, there's a lot of things in that movie that don't make sense. Like the fact that they sidelined the two non-white characters in the movie and made them beeline characters is horrible. But that's also not necessarily Lucasfilm's fault. That's actually the fans' fault. The reason why they did that is because fans hated them. And Jordan, you can talk about this next week when we're talking, or the week after. We have an entire episode planned on this, and two white girls can't talk about this. We are not the I'm queer, so that's one minority group, but still that's not something I can't talk about on racial things, but it's still an injustice. I can speak out about it, but Jordan, you have all of the words for that. And Jordan just said in the chat, preach. And I'm they sidelined the two ethnic people in the entire sequel trilogy because people didn't like them. And imagine that's just so bad. And this is the reason why people that John Boyega won't ever come back to Star Wars, and Oscar Isaac won't come back to Star Wars unless if he needs a new house. That's
such a good quote. That is.
By the way, that's one of my favorite quotes, because do you know what that means? That's basically Oscar Isaac, giving the finger to Lucasfilm and saying, "I'm not gonna He can go and do other things because obviously he's a Moon Knight, and he's they're gonna have extra stuff. They're going to do more things than just Star Wars, so they don't need it. So, but it's really, really, really bad what they did, and Like you can go and hate Lucasfilm for that and have criticisms of that, but don't just say, oh, well, that's not what Luke Skywalker would have been like. That's not a valid argument. What's a valid argument is that they sidelined the two ethnic characters and actors and made them beeline characters in the latter two films. Those are legitimate, like, yeah, like, and Chad just said that the sequel trilogy was never going to be about Luke. No, of course they are bringing in a new lineage. You know, they're bringing in new people. You know, Foe.
Wow.
Finn, Poe, yeah, and
Wow,
that
that's
Pomance,
good.
like Finn and Poe and Rey. Those are the three characters. And here's the thing: even then, they sidelined even Rey, and they made it about Kylo, like a white male. Like they took, like, it's just like those are. I mean, obviously, I know that we're off topic of the Bad Batch, but this is something that needs to be talked about. Because like they went and sidelined all of the ethnic people and the women. Like I understand that Carrie Fisher died and episode 9 was supposed to be her movie. And I think it still was. And I think that they did the best thing that they could with the footage that they had and with what happened. But the fact that they took, you know, they made Rey like a side character a little bit. They took, you know, what they were setting up Finn to be and what they were setting up Rose to be. And I think to finish off this specific topic and what we're talking in this, and we'll get back to the Bad Batch and finish that up and finish out the show. I think that they could have fixed a lot of things if they killed Finn in episode 8. That thing, when Rose saved him, I think that's when the like his storyline was done. Because up until that point, there wasn't as many issues. Like I was somewhat okay with the story. I understand that they put them off to the side, but like if they would have had him go out in a heroic way, there would not have been as much of a backlash. But the fact that they went and took that climactic moment where he's flying into the Death Star, basically. And then they just save him. Like
it could have solved, not solved. It could have enriched his character and
exactly. And they took that away from him.
Yeah,
and they took it away from him, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bad Batch.
Saying that, the good and the positives that are coming out of Star Wars Bad Batch. I think this is a fantastic move, and I think also we spoke about this as well in this Bad Batch discussion we had a couple of weeks ago with Dominic Jones on the show of the fantastic segue they did. The second the Bad Batch arc happened in Clone Wars season 7, I was like, oh, we're going to be getting a show about this. Oh yeah, we're getting a show about them. It was such a good setup and a backdoor pilot for them. Oh yeah, and I think it's gonna, because Clone Wars started coming out 2008, and there's I grew up with it when I was that, I guess, like that age group that it was aimed for, that kind of young teen kind of era. So I kind of
9 to 15-year-old.
Yeah. So I was prime age then, and then now this kind of new age Clone Wars style show, I think we're going to be pulling in a lot more of that age demographic there, which I think is
I think the Bad Batch is going to be really dark, because I'm all for an R-rated Star Wars. That's what I want. But I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to see that. But I want an R-rated Knights of the Old Republic. That's what I want. Because imagine having the Old Republic and Old Republic 2. Like those video games are dark. Imagine having Keanu Reeves as Darth Revan and having him go and slaughter in excruciating graphical way, just Jedi after Jedi, and just eating through that. I mean, we could even have an R-rated, a very dark R-rated Star Wars about Darth Annihilus. He ate planets for fun.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so
Bad.
dark, but I think Clone Wars had that fantastic balance of, and
Yeah.
this was so prevalent in season 7 as well,
Yeah.
of the balance of that, and there was so much meaning in it. It wasn't
Well,
just
yeah.
dark for the sake of being,
Dark,
eerie and cool. It was meaningful, and it gave weight to what we were watching on the screen. So I think the similar thing will happen in Bad Batch, where we're gonna find so much depth, and like we mentioned before, there's gonna be that storyline of what they're going through, what they're realizing about themselves and the galaxy around them.
Yeah.
And it's going to be shown to us in a really cool way. We've got, it's they're in like an imperial training camp, and then they're going to somehow get out of it. Like, it's going to be presented in a super cool way, badass, but it's going to be it's going to be meaningful. It's going to be impactful. And that's what I'm looking forward to for this kind of, not new generation, but new generation from when Clone Wars originally came out. It's going to be encapsulate a lot of people. And again, what we're saying, like, Disney Plus is like booming. Mandalorian is like the best show on Disney Plus. It's like the biggest seller. It's why it's so successful. I think Bad Batch, not a lot of people right now are like, not a lot of people
I don't think a lot of people
like,
know about it.
Yeah, but I think I'm hoping it will get that momentum, because
I mean, the first episode is 77 minutes long.
Yeah. I love that so much. It's like
the thing is that, like, my question is, does that mean that every episode is going to be 40 minutes? Basically be a first arc of like 4 or 5 episodes, and then they're going to cut it down to 20 minutes.
I think episodes are going to be like the 23 minutes of what Clone Wars was. And I reckon
you think so,
the first
but
episode is like,
it's going to be all 4 of those, that first arc.
So
I think so.
I think so.
I am